Woodturners, I'm Captain Eddie Castle and welcome back to the shop. This will be the third video on the same piece. We made a shape and then we hollowed it very, very thin. And that thing is woo thin. Now I have sanded it and I'm ready to put a little color and then clear coat it. I'm going to clear coat it with CA. A pretty good sized piece. That's going to be a fun trick. It'll really show you that you can do larger pieces, which I want you to do. But first we're going to start with putting a little color on it. And like I said on the last one, a little red from the bottom, and then a little yellow on top. I'm going to start with the yellow, put the yellow on because I want to blend off of that. Now, a couple of things. Remember I told you I had where I think I hit it with the handle of the chuck? Well, soft wood like poplar will mark when you do that. You have to get rid of that mark. Well, I wet it twice. About an hour ago. Yeah, about an hour. Went for a long bicycle ride. Came back and sanded it with a little 320 paper. Perfect. That works. A little moisture raising the grain does work. Now, I'm going to get my dye ready, and then we're going to color it. And all you have to do is watch. I'm ready if you are. Okay. I put these on because tomorrow I'm babysitting the Mick, and the wife doesn't like me playing with him when I have stain and stuff on my fingers. This is Artisan coloring dyes. They're pre-mixed, they're fade resistant because they are mineral based dyes. I get them out of Woodturners catalog, which is Craft Supplies. I cut it with denatured alcohol, and I use these little 1 pint mason jars for my dyes. I either use that one or the little flat squat one. Depends on what I find on sale. And I find these at the dollar store. I use a chip brush, the cheap chip brush. I cut it with the alcohol, and here we go. I'm not too worried about the inside of the piece because before it's done, I'm going to paint that opaque black. Why? Because the beauty of this piece is out here, not in there. I want it very uniform. I don't want any holidays in it. If I get any overlaps or brush strokes, I want to get rid of them. And since I'm going to seal this tomorrow morning, I'm not going to worry about burning it off with alcohol, with a lighter today. But if I was in a hurry, I'd pop up my good old flame and burn it off like that. You see it? That's burning the alcohol off, and if I don't move it, I'll get hot spots. But that dried it up just now. Dried it up very nicely. It also put a little bit of a skin on it, or raised the grain a little, which we're going to buff out in a little bit. But that's my yellow. I'm going to go ahead and continue and roll this down the side a little bit more. It's kind of out of your view, but it's where the red is going to fade up into. And I don't want a holiday in it to kind of mess up things. So I'm going to roll the back in yellow also. And that way when the red is on it, because I'm going to do the red very thin, if it shines through, I won't see any defects in the yellow that's underneath it that might impact the overall finish. Again, no holidays. And that's real important when you have cross grain and maybe a little tearing, etc. I sanded this thing very well, very nicely. I have it up to 320. But you have to understand, when I sanded it 100, 180, 220, 320. Then I reversed it and went 180, 220, 320. Because I want it to raise a little bit of a grain. Now I've used about a 1/4 ounce or so of yellow and about 1.5 ounces of denatured alcohol to put this color on. Very nice. I'll be happy with that. You should too. I've changed your reference point. Now you're looking at the front and the back. And I thinned this out pretty thin. This is red. And I want to start down here. And I want to make sure that I don't put on so much that it runs around. I don't want it to run around this thing. And I want to go all the way down to that foot. Because I'm okay with coloring the bottom separately, but not the foot. Then I'm going to bring this color up slowly. I'm using the same chip brush I had with the yellow. And these chip brushes hold a lot of liquid. So you see how you want to sneak up on this thing. If you don't wipe that brush, you'll bring a ton of liquid up here. And that's not a good thing. I'm coming all the way to the top edge. But I don't want enough to bleed it over the face yet. That's coming. And just so you know, I've never done this with good success. I'm saying good success. I haven't thrown the piece into the fire pile, but it is October 1st and it's the beginning of the snow season here in South Louisiana. And I'm going to need to build up a little bit of firewood. Okay, if you didn't catch that, that was the major part of being facetious. We don't have a snow season in South Louisiana. Now, change your point of view a little bit. I want this edge not to be clean cut. So I'm going to do that edge with the assistance of Mr. Whipple. Piece of toilet paper, where are you at? Right here. Put a little bit of stuff on it. Very, very lightly. So just like a chip brush, toilet tissue holds a lot of fluid. It's made to do that. So if you dip this thing in the jar, you're going to carry way too much fluid up here. You don't want it to be even along that edge. You want it to be kind of modeled out. Now you want to go back and look for light spots. That shoulder should look where it's coming over a little bit. So we're going to come back and put a few little blotches. I think you'll like that. Let me show it to you. Went handheld on this one, but you see how the red's coming up over the top? I'm going to let this cure overnight. That way tomorrow morning when I put the sealer on, I won't move it around. And I'm putting the sealer on tomorrow morning by spraying it on. The first coat or two. Because I don't want to get this a transfer with the sealer. Once again, time passes. It's the next day, and I said once again because right in the middle of the last part of this, somebody called and I had to stop. When you do call Big Eye Productions, you get me. So, I'm taking a Scotch-Brite and buffing it off a little bit because there's some fuzz standing up on it. I don't need the fuzz. This thing set up last night very nicely. Scotch-Brite pads, I get them in 4 or 5 different grades, and I get them all at Vince Welsh, Vince's Wooden Wonders. It's my source for sanding supplies. Alright, now, if we wanted to, we could take some, I'm going to show you how it does it. I'm just going to do a little bitty bit of it and show you. Denatured alcohol. I could take the denatured alcohol and reduce the sharpness of that edge by rubbing it in a little. All I have to do is reduce it a little bitty bit. Help fade them together. The beauty of working with the vehicle that moves this stuff is it works very nicely. Now, I am ready to spray the sealer. This is what I'm going to use for applying the sealer. This is a little 35-pound compressor. This is a little oilless pack thing. It's got a little automatic drain on it to get the water out that it generates. This is really simple. It's a Home Depot special, or I'm sorry, a Harbor Freight special, and it's very efficient for this purpose. I use an Iwata sprayer, and in this sprayer I'm using Deft lacquer sanding sealer, and I have it cut 50-50. That's 50% of lacquer thinner and sanding sealer. Now, this is really going to just seal off what I have here. Now, why didn't I just put this on with a piece of towel? Because I don't want one vehicle or one solvent to loosen the other solvent. Just been sitting here about an hour mixed up. Got a little sidetracked. This dries in 30 minutes or less for a full coat. I'm going to do both sides. Alrighty? Been about an hour since we started the sealing process, and I've put 2 good coats of sealer on it and sprayed them both, and I'm very happy with the overall color of the piece. Now here's the deal, if you're not happy with the color, you can't go any further. You need to fix the color. But if you're happy with it, I'm going to go to a 1000 grit, and these really don't have a grit, but it's about equal to 1000 grit scrubbing. I'm going to knock the fuzz down a little bit. That's all I'm trying to do. I don't want to seal in anything that stuck to the sealer or got carried over here, or high points that stuck up in the regular finish. Now I'm ready to start the CA. Now I've done the CA on a couple of videos, and I've been getting calls and questions. And by the way, you do know that if you put a comment or a question on the end of the video where it says add comments, I probably won't answer it I don't see those very often. But if you do have a comment or a question for me, here's the email address, eddiecastlin@cox.net. Send me an email and I'll be glad to get back to you. Now to do this, number one, protect your hands and fingers. Number two, this is a 1/3 roll of Bounty. Select the size. This is the one where you get less than a full-size roll. Well, I sawed it a roll into 3 pieces. So I've got some 1/3 strip pieces. I'm using less paper towel to get the same impact. And again, I'm using Starbond's super glue. This is their super fast thin EM02. Now before I start putting it on, it almost started, right? First I want to condition the piece, and I do that by taking an accelerator that gets the entire surface ready. Kind of make sure there's nothing there to be in the way. No contaminants on there that would stop it. I'm pretty sure that my sealer's cured out. I'm going to start with a piece of paper towel. Soak it in a little CA. Do a wipe. Okay. Now I can't go clean around this piece. The CA, number one, won't travel that far, and number two, it won't travel that far. See, it was 2 reasons. So we go to the back, and we come up to the center. Now I know I didn't have enough on there to roll over that center, but I will be over that edge. But I will be watching the edge to see if I ever push any over it, and I can sand that back. Again, from one side. And then the other. By the way, I used the super thin, I used the accelerator, and I used this method. If you'd like to try another method, go ahead. Try it on a test piece first. Why a test piece? Because teardrops all over your work doesn't look good. "12 coats of super glue. 3 sanding with 400. 3 sanding with 800. 3 sand it with 1200. 3 finished it out with 1500. Just now went over it with the automotive polish, and I think I've got a really good finish on this. Now it needs to be buffed out a little bit more. There's still some striations, but we're going to take it over to the Beal, use a little red rouge tomorrow, knock those spots down. Then I'll stain the bottom, put today's date on it. Ooh, can't go too heavy on the date. And there you have it. We shaped it, we hollowed it, we colored it. That's all there is to it. And it looks really nice. Thanks for joining me today as we were making shavings. I'm Captain Eddie. Hope to see you soon. The fading came out really well. Hey, I'm Captain Eddie Castle and welcome to my shop again. I have to remind you that Big Eye Productions, and that's www.eddiecastellan.com, is your source for carbide cutters. So if you've got a carbide cutting tool and you need a replacement cutter, you need to be checking out my Cutters Only page on my website. That's this website, www.eddiecastellan.com. The cheapest prices for carbide cutters anywhere. Yeah, there too. Check it out. Here's the address one more time. Don't waste any more time. Bye. Hey, I got to taking a look at this, and I still had some swirls on it from applying a glue, even after I did it with the buffing compound, on the lathe. So I took my 1200 grit paper, held it flat, wet it, and did a circular motion. Then I went back and polished it again. I'm just going to let you know, it made a big difference. And I did that today. I didn't wait. And I didn't do red rouge on the machine, but that thing looks like it's dipped in glass, doesn't it? You too can do this finish. In fact, when you do it, send me a picture. This address. Send me a picture. Oh, now I got to paint the inside black. I don't want to see the inside. I want to mask it off and paint it black.